My name is Doug Jones, and I grew up in Livonia, Michigan, and graduated from Central Michigan University. Later, I attended Ohio University for graduate studies. I've worked doing marketing research and consulting for radio stations all across the United States for 35 years. I've also spent 3 years as a rock and roll DJ. I've been married to my wife Shana for 42 years, and we still like each other, well, most of the time. We have 2 children and 2 grandchildren, and we live in Marietta, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. In 2017, I was diagnosed with the behavioral variant of frontotemporal dementia. It was frustrating because we didn't get much information when we got the diagnosis. It's not like what cancer patients get with resources, support, and help developing plans. We did learn it is the mom center of your brain. Like, you can't say that. You can't do that in public. That's just not appropriate. So it's challenging because my filter is gone. And sometimes with my wife, because of my dementia, I'm inappropriate or rude, mean, hard on others, totally unintentionally. My filter is just gone. So I talk in kind of a stream of consciousness kind of thing. It's frustrating. I can't do stuff like I used to. Things I used to do in the past, I could do like that, and now it just takes too long and just gets me frustrated. When I feel like I'm going to lose it, sometimes I just grab a towel that's close by and snap it or hit it, and often I use humor as a coping mechanism. I tell jokes like this one. I used to work in an orange juice factory, but I got canned. They said I couldn't concentrate, so they squeezed me out. I enjoy gardening and going outdoors. I also enjoy listening to music from my younger days. It calms me. Some of my favorite times are helping other people through volunteering. I love cooking gourmet meals for folks at a nursing home every month. It's great to put that all together, and I know that they really enjoy it. It's the kind of food that they don't get there. I have difficulty doing multitasking, but I can do the multitasking when creating the gourmet meal. I just have to set up my schedule ahead of time, as well as having an assistant with me. I also volunteer at a homeless shelter, doing laundry for the clients. It can be challenging to rely on my wife so much. I know it's hard for her, and I'm sure she gets tired of carting me around, taking me and picking me up from places, since it's just not safe for me to drive anymore. I try to take things off her plate by doing laundry and cleaning up the house, so she can do the things she loves, like reading, doing arts and crafts, and going to church, or just spending time with the grandkids. Another challenge is remembering things. Setting alerts on Alexa helps me to remind me of meetings and appointments, as well as doing laundry and timing the cycles. Of course, my wife is great at reminding me too, like my medications. She and I did a presentation for second-year medical students at Emory University. We talked about when I was diagnosed and how we felt about our experience when no follow-up or support was offered. The presentation was really successful. There were lots of questions, and my wife did a great job as she answered most of them. We've also done a webinar for a group of public health professionals from all over the country to discuss my frontotemporal dementia and how our faith has helped. About 85 people attended that webinar. If I had to give advice, I'd tell somebody who is getting diagnosed to ask for resources, get as much information as possible, get support in groups like ours or others you can find locally, or even on national websites for dementia and Alzheimer's. And I also would recommend that your caregiver get in a support group as well, because people think that somebody with dementia is just in the corner drooling, but that's not true. I prefer to focus on the upswing. We can do things to help others by sharing our experience and our skills. And don't forget, humor. The more you weigh, the harder you are to kidnap. So be safe and eat more cake.
I am Mary Lou, but I like to be called Lou. I live in downtown Minneapolis along the Mississippi River. I'm age 79 years old, married to Alan Burdick for over 40 years, and a wonderful son, Matt, who is the Healthcare and Behavioral Health Legislative Director at the Minnesota Department of Human Services. I've been living with my diagnosis of dementia for at least 2 years. I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, the oldest of 9 siblings. At age 18, I moved to Minneapolis to seek my fortune. I was employed by a public relations firm where I met Sally Anderson, a wonderful friend. We often talked about how we'd run the business differently. Sally's dad asked us why we did not set up our own business then. So we welcomed that idea and step by step built the business to become the second largest PR firm in Minnesota. Some years later, I sold the business and took on leadership roles in community organizations such as the National Alliance on Mental Illness and Courage Center. Alzheimer's disease runs in my family. I watched my mom and her 3 sisters one by one as they began to lose their memory. I thought it was inevitable that it would be my destiny. Fortunately, she was a role model for me, what I can do to live happily with the disease. She always focused on the positive and was very cheerful about it. My first diagnosis was mild cognitive impairment, and I was surprised to find that I do not have Alzheimer's, but I do have dementia. I was able to keep driving until early spring when I broke my ankle this year, and that trauma further diminished my memory a bit. I feel it's coming back, but I'm not comfortable driving anymore. Fortunately, my husband still drives, and the city has good transportation options. Some of the challenges I've faced include responding to too many emails. I am too often faced with the question, what do I want to give up? I still mostly have good days. Bad days involve pain from surgeries in the past. I recently had medical testing where the personnel wore masks. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I found I was guessing half the time. The end report was not so accurate, so I explained that I needed to see their lips move to fully understand their questions. Fortunately, I was invited to redo the testing without masks. Some years ago, my husband and I moved from the suburbs to downtown Minneapolis, which was growing along the Mississippi River with apartments and high-rise buildings. We support each other since we both have aging issues and we love it here. We have since moved across the river where we live in independent living, knowing that assisted living will be available if and when we ever need it. I'm active in a walking group and a founder of Mill City Commons, which offers wonderful programs online and in person to members who live on either side of the river. I enjoy music, especially live concerts, and follow local women's basketball teams, the University of Minnesota and the Minnesota Lynx. I found keeping humor in the home is a great strategy to keep from being dragged down by dementia. A proud moment in my life was supporting our then 13-year-old son's mental health recovery and his eventual leadership in mental health services. I served on the board for Minnesota NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, for several years. Our family learned a lot from this wonderful organization, and we're proud to be supporters. I first connected with the National Council of Dementia Minds by attending the Family and Friends series. I attended right after I received my diagnosis and have stayed connected ever since. I know that I want to make things easier for all, such as informing the medical professionals who need better ways to communicate without masks, I would tell someone who is newly diagnosed to acknowledge their dementia and to engage by being open, to set reminders on their phones, and to connect with groups like Dementia Minds and university programs.
My name is Matt Linke, and I'm from Tecumseh, Michigan. I am a retired also member of the University of Michigan, the planetarium in this case, and I have done many other things with the Museum of Natural History. I really enjoy that facility a lot. So I have a special interest in the field of astronomy and in the study of fossils. They don't seem to go together very well, but they are fantastic. And I also have an interest in being a storm spotter, which I was for a number of years. And that was also a lot of fun. And then more recently, I have served on the board of directors at the Tecumseh District Library. I've been retired since June of 2021. That's a long time for me, but it was a decision to make. It was a good one for me. It's worked out really well. And after working for over 32 years, that was a long time, I began to find that some of the issues going on at work, they started to do occasional losses of words. That's really important because I was going out to lunch with friends and I couldn't quite get the proper thing in the menu. I couldn't get the word just right. I start to find ways to tell my friends, what about that particular, this piece of whatever, and it's described this way, it looks this way. I would try and find ways to find through that. So that told me we had something else going on. We didn't know yet what that was. Things still seem normal, but certainly some things were not quite, not as intact as they were before. And that was stepping forward, something's going to be different. And that took a while. Initially, I was put through various medical appointments, including a PET scan and an MRI. It was determined that I have a mild cognitive impairment. It was no big deal at first. I was fortunate that I wasn't in front of a lab or anything, but I didn't know if I was missing things in the process of an educator. What really gets you after a while is you start to lose that, and you almost then begin to worry about it happening when you weren't really hoping or wanting or anything. When you're giving a talk, as I did just recently to a bunch of students, there were a number of words lost because they were definitions of a term, they were the name of a whatever, they were gone. And so I know that it does happen, and it's an uncomfortable feeling to have. I met with my director to talk through what was going on and to come up with a plan on how to inform my coworkers that I had decided to retire. I'm fortunate that I still get to do some of what I like to do with the public, presentations, astronomy, and fossils. Since retiring, I've been involved in clinical trials and studies at Michigan Alzheimer's Research Center. I'm trying to help researchers learn about dementia. My wife Lori and I have been married for 32 years, and we've been together even longer than that. We have 3 cats, Misu, LB, and Hermes. We love to travel and go hiking and bike riding with regular trips to Cuyahoga Valley National Park, trips up north, and travel to other places we enjoy, such as Hocking Hills. I like how my wife is learning about dementia, and I'm impressed that she attends care partner support groups to help take care of herself. I wasn't planning on this, and it's a good thing to have someone who is taking control. It is important to thank the people who help. I also really enjoy looking at the nighttime sky. It really helps me focus on the positive, telling myself to look up. I sometimes stay up till midnight or later to watch the moving sky. My advice to others is to prepare yourself for a new normal. Then reach out and talk to people like other adults and students. Become a part of research. You will learn from them and also help inform them too. I still want to be included, and I know I am still an important part of teaching and learning. I would tell someone else going through this to learn to be at peace with yourself, knowing everyone makes mistakes. I can't always come up with the words, but I don't have to be perfect on that. I'm okay with being me.
My name is Libby Ford, and I've lived in Washtenaw County my entire life. I obtained my BSN and my MSN at the University of Michigan. I worked as an organ transplant coordinator for 34 years at the University of Michigan Hospital. I married my husband Ron 28 years ago, and we have 2 adult children and wonder dog Hazel. My hobbies are swimming, gardening, canning, reading, college sports, raising livestock, anything outdoors. I love outdoor activities. 3 years ago, while on a train trip to the West with my friends, I had my first inkling that something was wrong. Upon arrival to the Grand Canyon, I ventured out on a walk and realized I was lost. At first I panicked, but I took some deep breaths and I figured that if I could walk in increasing concentric circles, that I could find my way back to the dining hall. And from the dining hall, I could find my hotel. Success. Back home, while driving in Ann Arbor, I would experience momentary lack of recognition with where I was. I could still use street signs to orient myself, though. And at work, I found myself taking wrong turns in the clinic and had trouble when coworkers were giving directions to me. I needed them to write it down and sometimes ask them to repeat the information. The final straw was when my manager pointed out 2 mistakes in my work. I was horrified because I had always been very careful and thorough with my work. And I did not want to bring harm to any of my patients. In 2019, I consulted my rheumatologist who treats my lupus. He arranged a thorough workup in conjunction with a neurologist. The diagnosis of young onset Alzheimer's at the age of 57 left my husband and I shocked. I gave up my career as a registered nurse, a job that I loved. I was further diagnosed with PCA, which is posterior cortical atrophy, which is a rare variant of Alzheimer's. Some of the challenges I face from my PCA include visual spatial problems. It's hard for me to focus on things. The images get blurry, and working on a computer is difficult. I have directional challenges and make wrong turns even in my own home. It's most helpful when my friends and people can point me in the right direction. Initially, I was seeing an ophthalmologist because of my lupus, but I felt he was not listening to me. I was afraid there were going to be treatment decisions made that wouldn't be accurate or helpful. So I arranged to see a neuro-ophthalmologist. This neuro-ophthalmologist helped lay out some guidelines and plans that factored in the lupus toxicity effect, as well as my PCA. It was crucial that they come together to develop a plan that was comfortable, that I was comfortable with. I really had to advocate for myself. My husband still works, planning to retire in a year. I can no longer multitask. I'm slow at whatever I do. My husband is always in high gear, though, and lives and breathes golf. He does so much for me. I cannot drive, but I have several friends who provide transportation for me. Right after my dementia diagnosis, I needed to see the bigger picture. So I attended Dementia Minds through the University of Michigan, which was where I learned a lot about dementia in the 6-week educational series. There are hundreds of varieties of dementia. People will see lots of differences. I would advise that they try to stay focused on the positive. I recommend volunteering, which has given me new purpose in that I can educate others. My involvement in PCA research has given meaning to my illness. I am also proud to be part of the Alzheimer's Impact Movement, known as AIM, which is an advocacy group and involves lobbying for funding for dementia here in Michigan. And that's my upswing. Advice I would give to the public is to talk to us and not just directly to our caregivers. The saying is, nothing about us without us. So don't overlook us. I enjoy being in this group and was inspired by their input. It's a good opportunity to learn from others, and it's always great to laugh together. I recommend the trifecta, which is faith, family, and friends.
My name is Dean Libby. I was born in Philly, but now live in Lakeland, Florida. I have a master's degree in healthcare administration and have worked in the healthcare administrative field for over 25 years. I've run and managed healthcare, acute care, urgent care, and behavioral health care facilities throughout my career. It's been a struggle getting any kind of answer as to specific which type of dementia I do have. The entire journey has been aggravating from the point of view of my local medical group, showing much of a disinterest of my dementia, and my local medical doctors showing much, well, they haven't even talked about anything about the disease like progression or symptoms at all, or even having much of an interest. So that's kind of where they stand. So that's been pretty tough. I've experienced memory and planning problems before getting restructured out of my company in 2016. In 2017, I was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Then by 2019, I got my official diagnosis with dementia. But over the last several months, my dementia now has taken more of a behavioral type of a turn. So like I said, the journey has been quite aggravating, but without my wife, it's been pretty much difficult to tolerate a lot, at least for me. Anyway, having a saint for my wife, for a wife is pretty much, it's been great. So anyway, we do have a successful stepson and an irreplaceable rescue dog, Oliver. And I'm sure you can tell with our other support groups that he's quite obedient. But that's a joke because he's been barking throughout the entire groups. Anyway, our great nice prize that we have right now is enjoying our beautiful little 6-year-old grandson, Toby. So I used to pride myself on being pretty active, playing very good tennis, being on tournaments, at least on the tournament level. But also, I also enjoy playing ugly golf. I also enjoy being. I used to enjoy anything weather that included storm chasing and anything all that was about weather. So anyway, I used to also play my guitar. I used to play in rock bands, and what I like to do in my more recent times was to see rock groups in person. One of my biggest challenges has been losing my sense of independence, and that's not being able to drive, not being able to take medications, not being able to go to familiar or unfamiliar places has been pretty difficult. But all in all, as long as I continue to dump on my wife, that's fine with me. So she takes me all my appointments. She takes me all my appointments. All my reminders and appointments. She reschedules things for me. So does everything that I should probably do but forget or know to do, but I begrudgingly don't want to do, but she does anyway. So anyway, she does everything, and then she does more. So, and of course, but without complaints. That's much better than I would ever do. So I know that. What's been the most uplifting part of my entire journey with this process has been to be part of groups, support groups, and especially now advocating for other newly diagnosed dementia patients. They're now emailing me or calling me, which is kind of neat. And now, luckily, thanks to Martha's group and other groups like that I'm also now working with, I'm able to forward people to other different groups. Not that I'm doing anything, I'm just showing them where to go, where to search on the computers. So it's neat. So what's nice is I feel their sense of hope. So that's really, really, really helpful for me. Patience is also a good thing, also always to have. I need to have a good patience, a sense of patience between my wife and myself as we are going through this journey together. So the last important thing for me that I do for myself is I have a hammock that's outside in the back of my yard, and I swing on my hammock, and that's when I need to. That's when I know I need to feel grounded. When I need to center myself, when my emotional, when my anger, I don't know, my sense of decision making is if it's overly to the right or left. If I'm about ready to explode and do something I shouldn't, if I go out to my hammock, that's it's like I'm gonna put myself in a corner. It's kind of funny, but anyway, in my late stage in my life, that's what I that's my advice for myself, and then maybe for others.
I'm Rosemary. I was born and lived my whole life in Jackson, Michigan, and went to Catholic schools, then Parkside, Jackson High School, and JCC. I'm retired now from work in medical billing, where I worked for over 20 years. My husband, Wayne, and I have been married for 23 years. He's always there for me. Our children are Steve, Cindy, and Tim. Our grandchildren and great-grandchildren live all over Michigan and beyond. Wayne and I have a house beside a walking path so people walk by and wave sometimes. I love when my neighbor's dog, Teddy, I love that dog, comes by to jump around and kiss all over and visit. I keep my eye out for him. 2 friends come over sometimes from Color Me Blessed to work on our workbooks. I particularly like the pages with flowers. I really like visiting with people and going out. My friends are still my friends. We need to travel and enjoy warm weather and ocean beaches. I love walking on the beach and into the water. It's so relaxing. We sometimes like to go to Arby's and get sandwiches to bring home, or park somewhere near a lake to watch boats, ducks, and the people, of course. My favorite summer food is ice cream, and especially ice cream cones with sprinkles. I'll take anytime I can get one. We've gone to concerts and I love music, especially the classic rock entertainers. I also sports fans, especially the Tigers, and enjoying going to Detroit to watch them. I have Alzheimer's, so I have to be careful. I don't drive myself, but Wayne takes me everywhere I need to go. I sometimes get frustrated trying to remember things. It takes a lot of time. Wayne helps me with that. He's a good guy, does anything for me. He does go out to places sometimes, rides his bike on the trail. I don't bother him or push at him. I like that. He does stuff. I hate to say it, but sometimes I do get tired and have to rest. I don't want to, but it helps me. I just go sit in my chair, close my eyes, and just take a nap. That's all I need. I really enjoyed this group because of the people talking and hearing them. I love the jokes and laughing with everyone. It's good to be able to do that with people and help others. That helps me focus on the upswing.
My name is Brad Hewlett, and I live in Jackson with my wife of 41 years. I graduated from Central Michigan University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. I have 2 kids, and as of now, have 4 grandkids with another on its way. My whole life I have loved being active outdoors, from water skiing, canoeing, shoveling snow, and delivering newspapers as a kid, to skiing, hiking, biking, and snowshoeing as an adult. I moved to Colorado in the early 1980s, and at the age of 26 got into a car wreck suffering from a traumatic brain injury, which is the source of my dementia. I recovered 95%, but my personality changed. I used to be so easygoing, but become angrier and more easily frustrated. After the accident, I tried working many different jobs as a salesman, real estate agent, retail, food service, and land acquisition agent. I ended up working on an assembly line, and my coworkers accused me of deliberate slowness. I didn't appreciate their comments, and others didn't understand my challenges. It was a long 18 years on that job. I have had diabetes since I was 4 years old and take 5 shots a day, eat 3 meals a day, and count carbs. I tried to hike and bike every opportunity, not only for the diabetes, but because I like to keep busy and work. In 2021, I had a major diabetic reaction where I mistakenly hit the wrong buttons on my insulin pump. This caused too much insulin to be delivered. I am clueless why I lived through it. I have not lived the same since it further affected my memory loss. I was a risk taker all my life, and I am lucky to have my wife Karen, who is very helpful and who I love very much. My family helps me keep out of trouble too. I have learned to remove myself from things that frustrate me or make me angry by going outdoors to be by myself. I don't like inactivity, and I use every opportunity to shop with my wife, do laundry, dishes, and yard work, read devotions, and watch the grandkids. I feel like an oddball, but I always love listening to jazz. When I was younger, I felt my diabetes made me different from everyone else, but now I don't worry as much about being different. If I were to offer advice to others diagnosed with dementia, I'd try to help them understand that nobody likes change, and we have to be ready to accept the frustration it sometimes brings. I know I need to try to do anything I can with a grateful heart and turn away from being focused on the losses. I like to share optimistic remarks like, be somebody who makes somebody feel like someone. That's my focus on the upswing. I make an effort to concentrate on what I can do because focusing on what I can't do makes me feel bad. My happy place is hiking, my favorite summer food is ice cream, and my major goal is to show Karen appreciation because sometimes in my frustration, I don't show it very well. I have enjoyed this group and feel I have gotten lots out of it and given a few things to it. It has been wonderful to be with others who support those of us living with dementia. Thank you.